happy Pride Month, everybody. I hope you're all doing well and have been getting by. While I was sitting on a beach in Hawaii reading Dr. Stone, America was busy taking away human rights from women. I, for one, absolutely cannot wait to see all the ridiculous things MGTOWs have to say about this whole ordeal. But in the meantime, it's that special time of year when Christians and conservatives get their temple garments in a knot, watching all the cool liberals make out with other dudes in public.
Step back, I think I'm gonna vomit!
And like moths to a flame, who else but Ben Shapiro would have videos lined up on how insane gay people are? Shit, I wish I could go back to Hawaii. Anyways, we'll be looking at these two Ben Shapiro videos today, so buckle up and enjoy, kiddos, because it's gonna be a doozy.
When in trouble, try to censor your opponents. This is basically the viewpoint of the left. And the idea is you have to agree with them on every score, or you yourself are some sort of deep-seated, deep-rooted fascist.
Uh-oh, suddenly the right can't be open about disliking gay people. It's almost like mocking someone based on their sexuality is wrong. Gee willikers, Batman. I sure miss being a bigot. Let's not forget about how adamant Ben is about removing all mentions of LGBTQ from media aimed at kids, because it might confuse them. Meanwhile, Ben is totally okay with kids watching shit like this.
Creep on this. Creeping like a creeper, creeping like a creeper.
Hey, Robin, anyone ever tell you you have a nice butt?
Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but this shit is dangerous.
And this is just another great example of the left doing something that is deliberately provocative, and then when you notice them saying, well, it's not happening, and they say, well, it is because you just said it is, and they say, well, it is happening and it's good, and if you notice, you're a bigot. And that is the idea here.
So Ben seems to think that two women kissing is provocative, not normal. And that's kind of a huge problem. Okay, so let me give you some context. Do you guys remember Toy Story? Yeah, so now Disney has this movie called Lightyear, which is supposed to be the movie that the character Andy saw that made him want a Buzz Lightyear toy so bad. So, you know, why does this matter? At some point in the movie, this happens. That's right, guys, this 2-second peck on the mouth has led to an absolute outrage from the right, and it's pretty hilarious. Right-wingers love to talk shit about the LGBTQ and talk about how sensitive they are, calling them snowflakes and stuff, but then they see this scene and start shitting their pants in outrage. A lot of right-wingers, including Ben, think that this is some crazy agenda being pushed, but the reality is that being gay is becoming the new norm. Like, the odds of you knowing somebody that's openly gay are a lot higher these days. So something like this to a normal person is like, oh yeah, two women kissing. That's as normal as a rainy day in Seattle. Maybe we'll talk more on that in another video, but for now, let's move on.
So I noticed, which according to the left means that I'm a bigot.
No, Ben, you're a bigot because seeing gay people infuriates you, and you've said previously that being gay is cultural insanity.
This cultural insanity has bled all the way up to the United States military.
You also make constant jokes at the expense of people who have preferred pronouns, which is such a heinous crime, apparently. So no, you're not a bigot because you noticed gay people in a Disney movie. You're a bigot because of the things I just mentioned. I just wanted to clear that up.
And I said, maybe you should take it under advisement that the sexual values that the left teaches are not the ones you want your kids to learn from Lightyear the movie.
That's actually not what you said at all, Ben. You said here in a tweet on June 14th that Disney works to push a not at all secret gay agenda, and that because of this gay couple in this movie, our society is in a state of moral collapse. And that got like 13.9 thousand likes. Like, there's nothing inherently sexual about a same-sex couple kissing. I mean, if you really think two fictional characters kissing is insane, then why haven't you rung the alarm bells on all these hetero couples kissing in kids movies? Or how about these real shows with real teenagers, well, teenagers kissing? Why is it only when it's a gay couple that alarm bells are being rung? Well, you know, we both know why. See, a lot of these right-wing dudes say that they're fighting to protect children and stand up for women, but if that was the case, then they wouldn't be focusing solely on the LGBTQ. They would be picking through all these kids shows like, yep, that's too sexual, can't have that in there, but that's not what's happening. This is strictly, I don't want gay people to be open about being gay. You know, I think there's a word for that. What's it called again?
Which doesn't seem all that controversial to me, frankly. It seems like, you know, the sort of traditional norm, male-female couple producing children being what is in children's movies. I'm not sure why that is supposed to change, or why it must change, or why it's necessary to teach small children the prevailing sexual values of the left.
Male and female couples producing children? What movies are you showing your children, Ben? I thought you were fighting to protect the children, but you're letting them watch people reproduce on screen? Yikes.
That is necessary. I mean, there will be plenty of time for that later on in life when kids are fully capable of understanding the moral values and judgments that are implied by sexual behavior, for example, or by the choices that you choose to make in your relationships.
All right, so I've seen a lot of people asking what dog whistling is, and to give you the short definition of it, it's the way that Ben spit out the word choices. It's a very sneaky way of implying that being gay is a choice, which if you have a brain, you'll understand it's not. It's actually pretty cliche for a man to come out of the closet after being married to a woman for like 20 years. Cliche, yeah, but natural, of course. This is to show you that you can try running from who you really are for as long as you want, but life has a way of catching up with you. This is also a good reason to show children that it's 100% okay to be a little different.
What the fuck? You literally just admitted that we should be indoctrinating children.
No, not at all. I'm saying that if you're born gay, it'd be nice to know it's okay to be gay while you're young, rather than growing up believing that you're some sort of monster leading to multiple mental health issues that'll stick with you for the rest of your life. Look, man, all I'm saying is that if this is okay, then it's unfair to say this isn't, because they're literally the same thing.
With small kids, and then pretending that, for example, same-sex marriage and heterosexual marriage are completely equivalent in every way under natural law, morally, evolutionarily. You're opening a can of worms, in other words, that doesn't need to be opened.
Nice. Now let's see that applied to black people. Same-sex marriage and heterosexual marriage are equivalent though. Well, they should be at least, but people like Ben and the Supreme Court make it out to be something that's corrupt and vile. In fact, in nature, we can find plenty of animals that display homosexual behaviors. I'm pretty sure everyone has a memory of their male dog humping another male dog at some point. So your thought process about homosexual being unnatural is just wrong. You can say that you feel homosexuality is blasphemous, but facts don't care about your feelings, Ben.
If you notice this, however, the left now suggests that this is a violation of freedom of speech. Because apparently what they mean by freedom of speech is you must approve everything that we do.
That's a gross use of hyperbole, and it's something I've seen a lot of. There's a lot of people who seem to think, if we accept gay people, soon enough they'll want you to accept pedophiles. Which is an awful thinking process to have. That's like if I were to say if you want to become a priest, then you probably want to become a pedophile because there are priests who are pedophiles. Maybe we should focus more on preventing that, rather than caring so much about transgender people competing in sports.
Biological male to become first biological male to compete at the games in women's weightlifting. Right? Because that's the story.
What Ben is saying here is that he doesn't think homosexuality is natural, and that he should be allowed to say so without receiving any backlash. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call being a pussy. You can go ahead and say whatever redneck backwater shit you want to say, but don't claim freedom of speech when people call you out on being a shitty person.
I'm not calling for Lightyear to be banned. Right? This isn't Saudi Arabia. This isn't China. I'm not saying that it should be banned or that you can't. It should never be played in theaters or anything like that. I'm saying that you, as a parent, get to decide what sort of values you wish to teach your kids, rather than the executives at Disney who have suggested that they wish to deliberately indoctrinate your kids with LGBT values.
Okay, so you're half right, Ben. Let me explain. For all of the gamers in the audience, do you remember in the early 2000s when parents were calling for the ban of Grand Theft Auto because they were afraid of what it would do to their children? That's what Ben is doing here. How? Okay, so let's go to the Grand Theft Auto stuff. This is a quick history lesson for those of you that are unaware. Here is a really violent video game that's made for adults. It says on the box, M for mature. Despite that, parents wanted it to be banished regardless, because they didn't want to risk their kids seeing it. Which is ridiculous, because why not just pay attention to what your child is doing and make sure it stays away from them, rather than completely censoring it for everyone, right? Doesn't that make a lot more sense? So why not take note of this small scene and choose to stay home? Why criticize Disney for putting something in a movie that you were absolutely not required to see? Obviously, this kid's movie and GTA are two completely separate beings, but the point still stands. Why not just stay away from it? Sure, he's not saying the movie should be banned, but he's making such a huge fuss about a small 2-second clip from a 2-hour movie that you have to pay to see. It's almost like Ben doesn't like gay people. You
have the head of Disney literally saying that she has a non-binary kid and a transgender child, and she wishes to expand the roster of such characters in children's programming until it encompasses something like 50% of all of the characters. So if you notice that, apparently you're bad and also violative of free speech. But if people shout you down and say that you're not allowed to have any opinion on this sort of stuff, that is not violent. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion. You can have an opinion. I'm saying your opinion is wrong.
Guys, this is the facts and logic guy. The guys that so many young men look up to as a source of inspiration and as some grandfather of debate. He's just flat out saying your opinion is wrong. It's kind of obnoxious, isn't it? The guy that constantly puts his own feelings in front of actual facts, like gay monkeys, is telling you, okay, but you're still wrong. It's actually kind of pathetic. And hey, if you have a problem with what the head of Disney is doing, then maybe you can change things when you become the head of Disney. It actually makes me really happy to know that the head of Disney not only accepts their children, but embraces it to the point that they're saying, hey, I'm gonna add characters to Disney that you can relate to. I really hope they stick to their word, and I look forward to people like Ben melting down over Disney's future non-binary characters.
People on the right very rarely try to actually silence people on the left. People on the left routinely try to do it with people who are on the right. by suggesting they're fascists and they must be stopped.
Oh, that's weird, because I've noticed you've been shilling the hell out of your buddy's documentary, in which he cuts out someone on the left giving him an actual answer.
What I think is often misleading about that characterization is allowed to be sort of messy and complicated. But in that framing, when you split them up into these wholly discrete constructs, studies scholars, and really more specifically people who study gender and sex, we're not talking about sexuality right now. And the kind of academic universe that I travel in is that we see how deeply gendered ideas, cultural ideas about masculinity and femininity, maleness and femaleness, both in humans and in lots of other animals.
So are gender and sex two different things, or?
And both of you seem to be in favor of silencing all and any mention of the LGBTQ in anything aimed at kids. Even Gonzarella scared the Holy Spirit out of Macho Man Matt Walsh. Oh, and what's this? The right has concluded that their opinion is now law, with the overturning of Wade versus Roe. Wow, it's almost like the right is pushing their opinions and religious beliefs onto everyone else. I could swear there's like a word for that. Oh, man, what could it be? Oh, I'm drawing a blank, shit. Oh well, I'm just a dumb libtard with no understanding of morality. Next, Ben goes on to talk about climate change, and like, if you want to know how knowledgeable Ben is on the subject of climate change, here's a clip from Hbomberguy.
That all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
Yeah, that small clip says a lot, honestly. So with that out of the way, let's move on to our next and final video from Ben, titled, "Your Rainbows Have No Power Here." Because, you know, Ben totally isn't an absolute homophobe and is 100% for the people. Fucking morons.
It is incredible how the entire sports media has gone completely woke. By the way, I recommend that you check out our sports podcast here at Daily Wire.
I'm gonna kill myself!
Jesus fucking Christ. This seems to be the strategy of a lot of right-wingers as well as MGTOWs. Like, hey, you and I share the same opinion on things, unlike those other knuckleheads. Since you're so smart like me, why don't you go ahead and check out my sports channel? Because we don't do things like those other guys over there. To the people of Ben Shapiro's audience, first of all, stop it. Second, you are just a means of paying for Ben's platform to spew out more bigoted bullshit. Stop it. Bad.
Some of the players on the Tampa Bay Rays refused to wear LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign, ampersand, percentage sign, dollar sign, hashtag, emoji face.
Okay, just a heads up, Ben makes this joke all the fucking time. So be ready, because he's gonna say this shit like 100 more times.
Insignias on their uniform, because they are either religious Christians or they do not believe in the LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign agenda. Jason Adam is one of those players. He said, "It's a hard decision. Ultimately, we all said what we want is them to know that all are welcome and loved here, but when we put it on our bodies, I think a lot of guys decided it's just a lifestyle that maybe, not that they look down on anybody or think differently, it's just that maybe we don't want to encourage it. If we believe in Jesus, who's encouraged us to live a lifestyle that would abstain from that behavior."
Hey, that's actually totally fair. You have a different religion than I do. You believe things I don't. You don't want to wear this thing because of your religion. That's totally fine. For those of you who are unaware, I'm actually not gay or trans or bisexual. I'm hetero, sorry. But I support people living their life however they want, unless it's harming someone else, you know. If you want to kiss dudes, awesome. If you want to worship Jesus, awesome. If you aren't going to force me to wear a sign of the cross, I don't think anyone should force you to wear a flag that stands for something that you don't exactly identify with. If you don't encourage the LGBTQ type of lifestyle, then that's how you live your life. All I ask is that you don't deliberately stand in the way of people who do live their life that way by, I don't know, taking away the right to same-sex marriage.
And I'm sorry to tell you this, but the national anthem ought to be more unifying in the United States of America than the LGBTQ pride flag.
And I'm sorry to tell you this, Ben, but this flag is a lot more unifying than this flag or its anthem. That's because the people who celebrate under this flag love each other for who they really are and accept people from all walks of life, while the people unified under this flag sit by with idle hands as kids are shot in the face. I think I speak for a large percentage of people when I say that I myself won't be celebrating Independence Day this year because, quite frankly, there's nothing to be proud of if you live here right now. Here's a country full of police officers who refuse to act during crisis unless the color of your skin is a darker hue. Here's a country that believes you don't have the right to do whatever you'd like with your own body. This isn't fear-mongering, this is literally what's happening as we sit here right now. I don't want to get all preachy, but damn it, dude, like, this flag has brought far more people together than this one. And if that bothers you, then maybe you should fix things. Non-violently.
You know why? Because it turns out that the LGBTQ agenda is quite radical, and a huge percentage of the population does not support either any element or every element of that agenda. The American flag, I thought that's the thing that we are all supposed to be as Americans. I wasn't aware that we all have to be LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign activists.
Oh, actually, Ben, that's wrong. According to this poll conducted by the Public Religion Research Institute, 76% of Americans are in favor of laws that protect the LGBTQ individuals. And what, we're all supposed to be American flags because we live in this country, Ben? What? And also, this notion that the LGBTQ wants you to become gay, it's actually nothing more than fear-mongering created by conservatives to scare parents into beating the gay out of their children. Gay people don't want you to be gay. They want you to accept them as gay. And by accept them, I mean allow them to marry each other and not get stared at in public. But this is America, so of course this is a huge hurdle for us to get past.
The American flag is a symbol of repression and societal racism and bigotry and historical discrimination. The pride flag is something we should all be proud of because after all, it's who we are. It's an agenda that stands for tolerance and acceptance. And the more stripes and shapes and colors and weird design graphic problems we have on the flag, the more tolerant and open we are. But if you disagree with it, you're a bigot.
Yeah, Ben, if you disagree with acceptance and tolerance, then by definition, you are indeed a bigot. The pride flag is not an indicator of it's our way or the highway. It's merely a symbol of acceptance for thousands of people, not just in this country, but around the world. Because it turns out there's plenty of gay and trans people around the world. As for your definition of what the American flag stands for, I'd say you hit it right on the mark, buddy. I think this is the first time we've seen Ben make two true statements, not just in one video, but in a row. It turns out America does have a history rooted in racism and intolerance, but the crazy part is that there are still plenty of Americans who believe white straight men are superior to all others. I'd go as far as to say that as long as there are people attempting to take rights away from others in this country, then this flag is still a representation of oppression and discrimination.
You know who the privileged class are? The privileged class are a bunch of left-wing reporters living in New York and LA who think that the Alabama football game has to be graced by Pride Night because they have very strong feelings about Obergefell or about transgenderism. Like that, it's so self-centered, it's so narcissistic. Again, they take all the things that are apolitical and that we could share and they politicize them. And then when you say no, they say that you're being a bigot.
It's fucking hysterical how the irony is always lost on Ben Shapiro. Because here we have a right-wing podcast host making a living off of criticizing the left for every tiny thing they get wrong. I'm not saying you don't have the right to speak out on these things. If this is how you want to spend your life, then by all means, go right ahead. But what I am saying is that a lot of the time, you're guilty of the same things as the people you criticize, which is essentially what this series I'm doing on Ben Shapiro is all about. And that about wraps up Ben's video. He goes on to talk about how being gay is a choice, but we've already established that that statement is not only false, but blatantly ignorant. So let's go ahead and end the video. Alrighty, boys. Here we are at the end of yet another video on Ben Shapiro. I actually had one more video focuses on Pride Month from Ben Shapiro that I wanted to include, but I had so much to say on that one that I think it deserves to be its own video. So look out for that within the next 2 weeks. As some of you may know, I recently took 2 weeks off from writing and brainstorming videos, but now that I'm back, I feel like I need to make up for lost time, so instead of one video every Thursday or Friday, I'm just gonna aim to upload stuff as soon as they're done, meaning you might see 2 videos in 1 week. So look alive. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, commenting, liking, or disliking. It means the world to me, and I'll see you soon. Peace.